Good afternoon. I am very excited to be here. I can tell you my coworkers back in Chicago are not as excited for me to be here, a little bit jealous. But yeah, I wanted to speak to you a little bit today about customer engagement. And the presentation actually, it's always interesting when you come to these events, you never really know who may be presenting before you and the content they have. Nice transition, so thank you very much to the topic for today. But if you, I'm just going to kind of, before we get into this, take a step back and talk to you a little bit about my morning. I don't know if you guys are similar to me, but the first thing that I do when I wake up is reach for my phone or my iPad. I did that this morning, and within the span of about 10 minutes, I was able to go through and see that the Cubs won last night, the Blackhawks won last night. I also saw Janet Jackson postponed her tour. Because I think she might be pregnant, or according to news sources she was. I checked Instagram to see that my niece, who was here on Monday on spring break, posted a couple pictures, and if she doesn't get 200 likes, she takes the pictures down, which I don't understand. I went to Facebook and saw what all happened in my neighborhood with my friends last night in Chicago. And then I finally went to my personal email, and what did I check last? My work email. About 50 messages that came in overnight. So that was pretty much the first 10 minutes of my day. And if you think about that, I changed channels, if you will, more than 10 times during that period of time. That's a digital disruption that we as marketers have to face and prepare for. And so if we think about the current state of marketing, customer experience really is the new battlefield, and that's kind of what was mentioned right before in the previous presentation. And if you look at some of the data around this, Gartner estimates that it's the #1 agenda in the 5-year plan for CEOs, and for marketers, it's actually #2. And what the explosion of digital channels has done is it's really kind of shifted the whole perspective on marketers because of changing those channels, changing the platforms, changing the brand experience. And that's really where digital is driving marketing to really look at this digital disruption. And it's increasing the complexity that we as marketers face because we have more channels that we have to look at, and we have to understand how do we go and market to a various customer and engage customer whenever we're trying to just address these channels individually. So it becomes very difficult for us as marketers. And if you think about what we as marketers go through, the customer experience is really suffering because a lot of times what we're doing is we're focused very specifically on a channel. We're not looking at the integrated experience that our customers, that's why go take your buyer journey, like see what it's like to be your customer. And the stories I'm gonna talk about today, so we're a tech company, a software organization is where I come from. You're gonna see some slides that look like data engineering. I am not a technologist, I am a marketer, so don't be daunted by what I'm about ready to show you. But really our big problem is there's this divide between what marketers know and what they really need to know. And so I wanna take you through today just kind of where we've evolved, and this again feeds very nicely into a few years ago. If you think about it, we knew who our customers were, and we had marketing activities that were very targeted specifically to our customers. Along comes the digital explosion, and the relationship marketer is shifting over to dependency really now on the digital marketer and all these anonymous customers that are coming to us, not knowing who they are, but we're getting data from them. And this data is really, and this is the explosion of big data and data-driven marketing, is now we have all this data, and what do we do with it? The marketing analyst role really became very important. And from there, understanding this data, it's having a marketing operations platform and really the underpinnings that tie your investments, tie your marketing activities, tie perhaps the execution of your marketing activities all together, and your marketing operations role really gave rise. Specifically around, and now kind of one of the main areas that we're seeing is content marketing. Content is very critical, and the rise of the content marketer has been very important. All of this under the purview of the CMO. And the CMO is really the person who is, at the end of the day, living this transition and change. And so what I wanted to do today is talk you through a few principles to help drive change. And I want to give a few examples I prefer to do a little bit more storytelling than data analytics. So you're going to see some interesting slides that are slide builds. I'm not a fan of that. I'll just take you through the stories to hopefully that you can relate to. But how can we become more customer centric? How can we then optimize offers based upon the behavior that we're seeing from our customers, particularly around digital channels? Many of you, I'm sure, have large media spends. Even if you don't, any dollars you spend on media is very important. So how can you sharpen your media spend? And then finally, how can you operationalize those insights? The imperative that we have as marketers is then to share the success. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into how we can become more customer-centric in our approach. The first is looking to integrate interactions. And what I want to take you through in a minute is an example of if there had been improved interactions and understanding of me as a customer, my experience would have been much better. The company would have been able to have those insights from the interaction and then be able to offer me a better experience based upon those interactions and help them prioritize their communications to me because their communications were not good. So if I look, and this is the slide that I'm fearful that you guys are going to really, there's some that are even worse, I apologize for that. But the example I wanted to share with you today is, I'm sure many of you have a cable provider for internet, perhaps television, perhaps phone. I've had the same provider for about 2 years, and I started to get in the mail marketing materials based upon this new platform that my cable company had that allowed me to talk into my remote and change the channels. It also was going to give me a much faster internet experience, and it was going to cost me less. So of course I called, and sounds like a great deal. Got it shipped to me. Nothing, very easy to install Saturday afternoon, put it all together. Next thing I know, when I work from home, I couldn't get on the internet. I couldn't change channels. It was right before the Super Bowl, and I was having a Super Bowl party, so I had to turn the TV on to one particular channel and not turn it off until the party happened. And so I started to get a little bit nervous about this cable provider. So I got a communication from a competitor. Said, oh, come to us, a very great deal. Called them, decided to change, and they had a technician come out. Took about 8 hours to do the installation. I then canceled with my old provider. Well, next thing I knew, and nice thing about them is you can ship all their equipment back. You don't have to go stand in line. Ship it back UPS store. You get a confirmation right away from the provider that you're shipping it back. Well, that afternoon I got a call marketing another product for that same company. The next day, I got a call saying, we noticed that you discontinued service. What can we do to send a technician out to make sure your problem is fixed? Well, obviously, I had had communications with this company. I was shipping the equipment back. I had received a notification that I was shipping it back, and now I'm trying to be sold on why I should stay with them. Not a very good customer experience. And if you think about that, I interacted online because I had an online account with them. I interacted with a call center, and I was shipping materials back to them and had a tracking number. So obviously that was generated from their system. They were not good at integrating that customer experience, and therefore certainly suffered from that example. So when you think about what you want to ask is, do you have an approach that prioritizes your offers across your various product portfolio? Can you glean key insights to differentiate yourself from the competition? Obviously, the second company that I went with knew a little bit about me, and we did not go through the same challenges. I'd actually had their service at another property before. And are you able to follow up with the right individuals based upon your response? You don't want to be communicating to customers who've already told you they don't want to be communicated to. Let's talk a little bit about those offers and how we can understand customer behavior and expand a relationship with that customer. The first is we want to understand your online behavior. You also want to link that behavior with the value of the customer. And you want to be able to deliver a real-time response. And so the example that I'll take you through, and again, this is a little bit daunting, is I worked for, and as was mentioned earlier, Bank of America. And when I was with Bank of America, we had a banking relationship with 50% of the US population. So that meant 50% of the US population had at least one product from Bank of America. but the majority did not have another product. So if you had a checking account, you probably didn't have, you may not have a savings account, you may not have a home loan, you may not have a retirement account with the bank. And one of the key areas for us for growing the business was expanding that relationship with the customer. One of the key focus areas for the company was to push that through our online channel, so through the bankofamerica.com platform. And with that, if we had information about you, we knew, based if you had a credit card, we could analyze that data to say, oh, are they all of a sudden making purchases at the Home Depot or at some other home improvement store to say, do we offer them a home equity line of credit? If they're all of a sudden making investments around a college savings fund, what could we do to maximize the relationship with other of our investment products? And so really understanding that customer, understanding the value, understanding their online behavior and how they're responding and the data that they're giving helped us to maximize that relationship and grow our product portfolio with that particular account. And so those are some ways that if you look at understanding the online behavior, understanding the value of your customer, you can then maximize that relationship with the customer. So are you able to understand that across the channels that the customer interacts with you on? Are you able to link that back to the value of the customer? And can you deliver the relevant messaging to that customer, the right message through the right channel at the right time? And we talk about that a lot as marketers, and that's very important. Media spend. How many of you here invest in paid media? A large portion of you? Yes. As a marketer, it's oftentimes difficult to assess what that spend is returning. In looking at your media spend, you want to look at how you can link the audience and individual identifiers. How do you onboard specific individuals, and how can you better focus your media spend? And again, we've got a nice, if anybody wants to talk technology, obviously our software does all of this. We can talk afterwards. But this kind of takes you through example of how this is done. Whoops, I'm sorry. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, again, a personal experience. Last month, I took my niece on spring break. She had never been to California, and I wanted to take her out there. And we went to LA. So what did I do to plan for that? I obviously needed to get a hotel. And if you've had this experience before, you start researching hotels. Next thing you know, I've got hotels in my newsfeed on Facebook. I've got it on CNN.com when I go to try and read the news. It's following me around everywhere I go. The one particular hotel was on every web property I engaged with, was all of a sudden marketing to me. But I'll tell you one of the things that they did that was really important and I think very valuable is as they followed me around, I actually was getting a better offer every time I would log into another online property. And I finally ended up booking with them. As soon as I booked with them, I got an email saying, hey, we really appreciate the booking, and if you tweet for us, we're actually going to upgrade you one category of a room. So, and they actually provided a link that I could click on to just automatically tweet it out under my Twitter account. So of course I did that. I immediately got an email saying, thank you for tweeting, and here's your room upgrade. And when I checked into the hotel, great room upgrade, fantastic experience. When I checked out, they gave me their card saying, here is our TripAdvisor profile. We'd really like for you to go complete the TripAdvisor profile. Next thing I know, I'm getting a customer satisfaction survey through my email. I'm still being followed around now with better deals from that online, or from that property on my online channels. That is and can be a little intrusive, but because I had such a positive customer experience and because they were able to understand the value of the marketing they were doing from a paid media online channel, they're able to tie those dollars back in and they can account for me tweeting, which is not, they're not paying me to tweet, and other activities I've done online to promote them and obviously talk about them. If anybody is interested, it was actually the La Montrose Suites Hotel in West Hollywood, if you're interested in the hotel. And I'm not getting paid for that either. But so to sharpen your media spend, again, linking that advertising with your customer and understanding the value, focusing that spend on the individuals you want to reach, and eliminating any advertising you might be doing through channels that are not returning value. This next area that I wanted to talk about is operationalizing your insights. And as a marketer, this is core to what I do. And this is where I'm fortunate to be able to use our own technology to manage marketing. And for those of you who may not have a marketing automation platform, and for us as marketing resource management, you hear about marketing operations, all different types of terms. And again, if you want to talk about that, I'll be more than happy to do that this evening. But it's really important from the standpoint of, for me as a marketer, and agile marketing. My marketing budget is not getting any bigger. As marketers, we typically don't have expanding budgets. So what I have to do is I have to move very quickly, and I have to learn from my activities. So all the way from planning my budget every year, to then linking that budget to my marketing activities, to then executing and interacting with agencies. A lot of our agencies, we require them to actually work with us through our own technology for markup, review, and approval. To then managing our project plans, so task management. And I don't remember the average tenure of a marketer, if you're looking at a director or below, is less than 2 years. Whenever you have change within your marketing organization, it's oftentimes very difficult to retain the intellectual capital. By having a marketing automation platform and technology, you can retain that through your project plans, through the interactions that you've had on previous campaigns, and you're able to then tie that into your return on marketing investment. The execution for us from a digital perspective is actually done through our own technology. I can look at my click-through rates, I can understand marketing attribution and tie that back into my marketing spend. I actually have a revenue number I have to hit. I have marketing attribution reports that I have to provide to our board around how many touches on average it takes for us to convert a sales opportunity. For me, that's 17 touches, marketing outside of email. I don't measure email, but that's 17 touches I have to do in order to drive revenue for one closed deal for my business. And so being able to then reverse engineer that back and say, I know this year I have to deliver 32,000 leads in order to hit the fire numbers, the target, the revenue numbers that I have to drive, is critically important. And I could not do that without having a technology to be able to manage that. So again, if you want to talk technology, we'll talk about it a little bit later. So again, just some questions. Do you currently rely upon heroic efforts of individuals within your marketing team? Do you rely upon Excel spreadsheets? Most of us as marketers probably do. Do you have visibility into your marketing spend? Again, you know, for me, I don't know if many of you who are marketers know, you never want to leave dollars unspent in marketing. And a lot of times you get into the fourth quarter and you realize that you're going to have a budget surplus. I pull a report daily in the third and fourth quarter to show me where my marketing spend is, and I'm able to reallocate those dollars as needed to be able to drive additional revenue for the company. And then that really, again, speaks to agility and how can we react and change in an efficient manner. The last thing is sharing your success, which is one of the things that, you know, coming here today and talking to you guys, we're not perfect, but I certainly have seen different things that have worked. By understanding our individual customer, understanding the customer journey and customer experience, and we talked about that a little bit, is important. Being able to share that not only internally, but share it with other marketers. One of the interesting things, because you know, I'm a marketer that sells a marketing technology solution to marketers, so obviously deal a lot with marketing. As we do events, we are learning that it's more about marketers coming together to have conversations amongst each other and sharing thought leadership amongst each other that's being really effective. So sharing that success, learning from the success of others, and executing on that success. And with that, I'm going to just leave you very quickly with the 5 things we talked about today. I'm happy to talk about technology if you'd like afterwards, and I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.